This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Well, you're working, but we're not sure if you're working smart. And the best way to get you working smart is to talk to the Working Smarts guru herself, Dr. Erika Garms. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Working Smarts and what your professional journey was that brought you to the work that you're doing today and some of the interesting stops along the way, perhaps.
Sure, I'd love to. So I started off as an elementary school public teacher and was trained in brain-based learning. I'm foreshadowing here. So I thought that was just the way that all teachers learned how to teach, but apparently it was unique and progressive at the time. So did a stint in public ed and then got into adult learning and took a job with Anderson Consulting, which really threw me quickly into the world of being a consultant and working with adults as learners and change agents. And I started to see this gap emerge between brain science, applied, simple brain science, and grown-ups in the workplace. I'd seen it with kids in classrooms, but it seemed to be absent in workplace environments. So I knew that was a niche. I knew that I wasn't seeing anybody else filling that niche at the time, and I'm talking globally. So I dove deeper into neuroscience to find out just what were the underpinnings under management science and leadership theory that had to do with how our brains work. And I put together a platform that I called the Brain Friendly Workplace. And Working Smarts seemed to be a nice global umbrella business name for all that was to be or become with brain-based approaches to organization development and learning.
And your focus, Erika, is specifically around leadership, management. What are some of the focus areas that you apply this brain science and learning methodology to?
Yes, management and also I would say culture.
Ah, fantastic. So let's talk about kind of the last 12 months and what's been going on with the corporate world, what your clients are coming to you for now that we're kind of pandemic, post-pandemic, emerging from this at some point soon. Well, your finger on the pulse of the marketplace when you're looking at corporate leaders, senior executives, people in the business world who are in the trenches that you're working with as your clients and your audiences. What's on their mind? What are they freaking out about? What have they already kind of gotten past? What's the kind of old hat for them as far as the pandemic messaging? And what are they really urgently working on right now here in early 21?
It's been really fascinating to watch. I'm sure for everybody, it's fascinating to watch. What I, of course, saw them struggling with, my clients struggling with early on was how do we be remote workers? And how do we focus and juggle at home? In many cases, we were at home. And then how do I manage this relationship with my boss and show that I'm performing even when my boss can't see me and maybe feels uncomfortable with that? So that was early on. So now what I'm seeing now, nearly a year later, is kind of a return of the focus on employee mental health and well-being. That doesn't mean that they're no longer concerned about performance and continuous learning on the part of their staff. But that is sort of a given now that they know they need to continue to beef up people's skills in this new work environment. But now also, I think people have a little bit of a breath that they can take to refocus on what else is needed to support staff in their well-being and performance. And that, holy cow, does that land right smack dab in the middle of mental health and well-being?
For sure. Well, and I want to talk about your integrated product suite, which is really impressive. And I think people can learn an awful lot just by seeing how you put together this suite of assessments and programs and consulting packages and various types of engagements that your clients can go from small, medium, large, supersize. How do you feel that this brain-friendly approach is landing when everyone is virtual, everyone is remote, and as you said a few moments ago, all the other consultants and trainers are still just doing like the information download, and we're transmitting an awful lot of information, but a lot of it is bouncing off clients' heads like a foam brick. how has this brain-friendly approach that you have really made an impact in the middle of this crisis?
I think as many of us thankfully have learned, information seems to, short term at least, calm anxieties. And so I think it feels good for people in buying positions to buy something that will support the learning and the well being of their staff. And for staff, I think it feels good to put something on their calendar that is a learning activity of some sort. And yet, I don't think that that's helping them make behavior change longer term. And I don't think that they're doing the application of what they're hearing. And so, what I try to talk about with my clients and with the folks I'm serving face to face is that it is necessary to do something to put this to work rather than to just relax and treat this as a break from the barking dog and the kids who need help with their homework and the boss Zoom calls. I also feel like clients and buyers are really attuned to how important it is to acknowledge, number one, and then respond intelligently to the evolving needs that people have during this crisis, and recognize especially the home lives and the home situations that people have going on, and just how big of an impact on work that can have. And so I see a lot of managers and leaders that I work with who previously may have been really uncomfortable with that fine line between what's too personal and what is professional territory in my relationship with my staff. And they're walking a new line there. They're drawing a new boundary.
Yes, 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 yes. Let's go behind the curtain a little bit, because on your homepage, when people go to workingsmarts.com, you have this really great infographic about what I call your integrated product suite, but you call it your services and programs map. And in there are multiple layers. I love the visual that you have, which is you put it all under one roof. And so it's like a house with 3 floors.
You got it.
So floor number 1 is your short form programs. Floor number 2, the second floor, is longer form programs. And this is a hybrid kind of online, offline, blended learning kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then you have your long-term programs that you call integration programs. How did you come to that? Okay, I've got 3 different levels of depth, duration, and detail. Where do you start people? Do you always have to start people at the bottom? Do you sometimes start people at the top? Tell us how you use that model in your marketing and your sales and your client conversations. And maybe even first, I'm asking you 17 questions at once. How did you build the house? Let's start with that. How did you build the house? And then we'll talk about how you use it in your sales conversations.
Sure. Well, where it started was with a huge mistake that I was making early on. And that huge mistake was framing myself, positioning myself as, unfortunately, a jack of all trades, a Jane of all trades, and a trainer, a one off trainer. And so I did one of the cardinal sins of speakers and experts, which is listing on my website under programs a huge laundry list of topics that I can and do and will teach. And I realized that the sales conversations that I was having directed us to that list and encouraged potential buyers to sort of pick off the menu of which ones they wanted. And that was not the conversation that I wanted to have with them. It almost precluded us from getting to the conversation about what are your true needs? What are you seeing as gaps in your staff? And what would be a good solution for that? So, knowing what I already was doing, I knew I wanted to create a visual that would help show them that there are baby steps and there are big, widespread, really deep change efforts that we could do together. And ultimately, they're in charge of what they want to do and when and in what order. But that there is some method to the madness. There is some sense of prerequisites and then more advanced work. And for organizations that might want to pilot something, there are some logical places to pilot before we bite off something big on floor 3, which might be a year-long culture change project. So it also really teed up the conversation about their commitment level to what they were asking for. And they could see visually that if they really wanted behavior change and culture change, hanging out in floor 1, dabbling in there with some topics wasn't going to get them there. They needed to climb some flights of stairs.
Yes, 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 yes. Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. And it's really, really great the way that you've branded the subcomponents. So, we always talk about the brand sandwich. So, Working Smarts is your company name. That is certainly your brand. Erika Garms is your name. That is your personal brand. But even the components and the building blocks of your system, and the system, of course, is the brain friendly workplace. That's what's on the roof. So, the system has a name. That's not perhaps that unusual. But I think the real genius is the branded building blocks. So under there, you've got meeting smarts and change smarts and leadership smarts and some masterminds and some group coaching and some other things. So when people look at these branded subcomponents, people love buying things. So I think what you've done a great job with is you've objectified the components, and they go, ooh, I want one of those, and I want one of these, and I want one of those, that looks really good there in the window there on floor number 2. And maybe someday we'll even get to floor number 3 and get some of those big transformational programs. And that is very, very different from what you said a moment ago, that where you started is this kind of hodgepodge collection of, hey, here's my 17 different topics.
Right.
When you put it under the roof, a couple things happen. Number one, they all make sense relative to each other because not one of these strategies or tactics or focus areas really stands on its own. And number two, it really makes it look like you know what you're doing. And of course, you do know what you're doing. But the important thing is a lot of people know what they're doing, but they don't make it obvious that they know what they're doing. So this externalizes the fact that you know what you're doing and you have this integrated product suite. Now, let's say we're in a sales conversation and they're showing like level 2 and level 3 needs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer that they start with something on level 1, or are you pretty facile with having a level 2 or level 3 sales conversation and just starting them off with a bigger package? How does that work in your mind? What's the amusement park ride at the front gate for you?
So if we're having the conversation and they've stepped into the conversation about level 2 and level 3 needs, I don't want to pull them down to the first floor. But that doesn't mean that I might not sell them something that is on level 1. So I'll keep the focus. I don't know if this is right or wrong or best practice, but what I have done and what seems to work for me is that I keep the focus on the needs that are on floors 2 and 3 and talk about building a package, long-term package, which might include some of the prerequisite components that are found on level 1 of the graphic. But again, I just sort of mention those and pull them in to a longer term package or a series of development opportunities for their folks.
Now, you started out traditional offline consulting, coaching, and speaking business.
Mm-hmm.
You now have an entire beautiful, fantastic online portal, Erika Garms, super duper university. What were the first baby steps into the digital world and the online course world and mini courses and all of this? And how did that evolve and grow over the past couple of years?
So, what I was noticing was I wasn't excited about going into classrooms full of 30, 35, 50 people that I didn't know and that I probably wasn't going to see again. And those were clients that I was doing ad hoc. And I knew that I wasn't ultimately meeting their needs by doing these fly by night, one event, one off engagements. And so, what I wanted to do from a business perspective was pull the time that I was spending in those classrooms and in the preparation and the follow up for those one offs and put it somewhere more strategic during my weeks. And so, the way to get me and my time out of that endeavor without completely losing that revenue was to make some of those programs online. So then I spend a little bit of time selling them, but almost no time in maintaining them and running the classes.
And that is such a huge distinction. I rant about this all the time. When people use the phrase passive income, I say, listen, folks, there is no such thing as passive income. It is actively marketed and actively sold. And the benefit is, like you just said, it's passively delivered. The delivery is asynchronous. The delivery can be 24/7, anytime on demand, but we need to sell it. So when you're selling, obviously you have a fantastic group of clients and past clients and new prospects. When you're looking at, okay, let me spend some time and energy selling consulting and speaking and virtual keynotes. And then let me also spend some time promoting my digital vault and the digital programs. How do you prioritize, or do you feel that splits your attention, or do you look at it more holistically than that?
Until this point, I let the client's needs dictate that. And, perhaps I'll get to a point, I hope I get to a point where I have a sales team actively marketing both live and virtual products and services. But right now, I'm allocating my time according to the client's needs that come to me
And
every
now
day
you
of the week.
also have, I think you've jumped into the membership model as well. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir, I
Tell us
have.
about your adventures in membership.
It is an adventure. It is more active, of course, than just sending somebody a link to an online class. I find it more fun because of the opportunities you have to gamify the membership. And so I've done a lot of learning in the last year and a half on gamification within a membership. And I wouldn't say I'm the master at it yet, but I'm gamifying more and more the membership that I have going, which, by the way, is one called Restore. And this is developed, not surprisingly, around some foundational brain science for people who have experienced some sort of a work hurt. So there's a pathway and it takes them through skill building across the course of a year. And believe it or not, you can gamify restoring from a work hurt.
Yeah. So tell us, when you say game, this is very, very hot right now. This is like very au courant, is gamifying learning and gamifying online education experiences, because it's more engaging. It keeps people coming back and it helps the learning stick, and it
Mhm.
helps them get long-term behavior change out of what would ordinarily be kind of a fly-by digital thing that they don't pay much attention to or dip in and out of. When you say gamify, are we talking about, are there points? Are there rewards? Are there badges? Like Denzel Washington would say in the movie, "Tell it to me like I'm a 5-year-old." What does gamifying really mean? What does it look like if I'm in a gamified online membership program like yours? What do I see? What do I get? What are my carrots and sticks?
They are incentives, rewards, and accountability measures that people find either intrinsically or extrinsically motivating. And I use a mix of both. What I think it also does, just to piggyback on what you were explaining, David, I think it also really helps to build community. So, boy, are people eager to see on your next weekly call who's made it to level 4 and who gets their level 4 badge, who gets to do a certain kind of share session because they've accomplished this checklist and checked everything off on it. So, it's a way to celebrate, and the celebration really locks in the community and the understanding and kind of the allegiance to the brand and the products. And I found that that really helps with upsells down the line. So if they've experienced, accomplishing certain things that you've gamified throughout the course through these measures I just talked about, they're anxious to see what comes next. And they're naturally eager to see, well, when we finish this, who's going on to the next thing? And I want to be in that too.
Right, exactly. Now, I'm going to take a leap here because I'm about to throw a term here at the brain science PhD. Does this tap into like that dopamine response where we get that little jolt of happy juice in our brains when we win something or get points or get acknowledgement or get some kind of reward?
Absolutely. And it's more than just the dopamine, but that is one of the substances up there that we hear about the most. But it serves our pleasure center in the brain. It serves our need for connection with others and also our innate drive to reach a goal. So that's something, I'm training a 4-month-old puppy right now downstairs, and he is of course extremely food motivated. So
Yes.
it's kind of it's kind of like similar to tapping into his motivation. It's tapping into the motivation that we all have inbred to achieve whatever goal is in front of us. So we just make the goal clear, and then people are going to want to approach it.
Right, exactly. Now, of course, we're a very puppy friendly show here. So, what kind of puppy are we talking about?
Oh my goodness. Well, he's a shelter rescue. And so we had our list of acceptable and suitable breeds for our family. And then, of course, that went just out the window when we saw his little face in the Humane Society. He is a mountain cur, CUR. I had never heard of it.
Me neither.
It's one of the original pioneer dogs, working dogs, and he came up to Minnesota from Mississippi. So
Wow.
snow has been interesting for him.
How about that? Name?
Morrison.
Morrison. What a great name. What a great
Thank
name.
you.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. So just the way Morrison like wags and wiggles and barks and licks your face when he's happy, this is what the gamification does to us as adult learners, is that we tap into those pleasure centers because of a sense of accomplishment, a sense of community, a sense of forward movement and achievement, and all of those good things.
You got it. And it also makes us feel more ability to have control over our direction.
For sure. Now, when you sell these programs, and I know that with Work Hurt, it might be a little bit of a tricky question. Do people sign up for themselves out of their own pocket? Or is this a corporate sale and you say to a VP level person or a director level person, hey, let's get 7 of your folks into this program. And then how is that different than just more of a sort of leadership type program, supervisory type program? Is it a corporate sale? Is it an individual sale? How does that work?
This is thankfully, another maturation move on my part as a business owner. I was selling onesie twosie to people word of mouth, past clients, but still in very, very small groups, and realizing that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And I could allocate the same number of hours per week trying to make a bigger sale for more people. And so I've really shifted the amount of time that I allocate to that to higher level mass sales, bulk sales, I call it. And still I get 1 at a time, 2 at a time. And I, of course, love those, but that's not where I'm putting my energy because I want to impact more people.
Right. And that's not just for the Restore program, as you mentioned, but it's for the folks who have been wounded at work in some way. That's for all of your online programs that you're selling to. You're having an enterprise sale for what a lot of people might be wasting their time, like you said, selling the onesies and twosies.
Right. It just doesn't make any sense when you look at, I'm using Traction right now, the EOS approach to running my business. And I can't get my big rocks done using only a 1-to-1 model. It's just not happening.
Exactly. Well, tell us, what are you looking forward to? What's cool? What's coming up? What are some coming attractions for 2021?
I am really having fun with the membership model. And, since we already broached the topic of dogs, I'll hint here. As a side idea, I am going to be developing a second small business, which is a membership model for dog lovers. But back to your original question, what I'll be doing is contacting wellness folks, so directors, VPs of wellness within larger organizations, and trying to get them bought onto this membership model at the enterprise level rather than just divisional level. So that I'm really looking forward to. And what that will mean is that I need to bring on, activate a layer of coaches within my business to help operationalize more of these pods of participants in the membership program, the Restore.
And is it so? Tell us how it works now in the Erika only model, and then tell us what the next scaled up version might look like with you and the team and some other sources of support.
And you're not asking about just the Restore program, right? You're talking about WorkingSmarts in general.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the membership model, but really could be anything. What's the future empire look like? Give us the whole big picture.
Well, I love having a team supporting me. I love the idea and the feeling of having a team supporting me. So even though I am a solopreneur, I think I told you this maybe, 7 years ago or something, that I actually have a team, I call them, of, at the time, I had 23 contractors that support me in various ways. So I always like to have somebody else doing something while I'm doing my work. And if I'm the only one working, then I'm not fully utilizing and leveraging my time and my resources. So right now, that is the model that I'm using. The model that I want to walk towards, which I think will happen quickly when I make even one of these wellness director enabled sales, will be to bring on a group of virtual coaches to add that layer into the programming so that I can run 10 pause at a time if I wanted to, rather than one or two. That also opens up the possibility to do on-site live versions of the Restore program if that sounds like it's of interest to my clients.
And the membership right now, when you sell it retail, it is a certain dollar amount per month. I sign up as, Joe independent person. When you enterprise it, when you license it, do you have a pricing table, or is it based on seats? Is it based on company size? What's the bulk sale mechanism?
It's actually a blend of what you just mentioned. So it is by company size. I do have a chart. So what I'm proposing to them is seats available for a certain price. This isn't something that you'd want to assign people to. This particular program, Restore, is not something you want to assign somebody to. It just would not work. So it needs to be an optional opt-in kind of decision for an individual. So I think what makes best sense, and this will be either validated or not validated by through these conversations that I'll have, is for an organization to buy 10% of their employee population the options for a slot in this program. And then if you're Joe independent, you let somebody know, maybe somebody in HR, that you want to opt into that program, and you get that seat.
Are you also looking at employee assistance programs as possible distribution partners?
Yes, sir. I indeed am. I've become smarter in that whole world and joined a couple of associations locally that have to do with employee assistance. And actually, I'm doing some virtual speaking for some of those associations coming up soon. And they are really keen on this because
Nice.
this particular program fits the need for coaching that therapy doesn't address exactly. It's more work related, but it's also deeper than going to HR if I'm a person who's been hurt at work and HR is saying, well, do your best to get along with the person.
Right.
Yeah.
Do your best. It's not that bad. Come on.
Right.
Just go figure it out. Just go figure it out. It's not that bad.
Right. You're grown-ups.
Exactly. Well, but are they?
Right.
But are they? Dun, dun, dun. So, in our closing couple of minutes, I want to talk about sales, outreach, and lead generation, because people are listening and they are turning green with envy. They're saying, oh, this Erika, she's so smart. She's so savvy. She builds all these programs. She builds it and they just flock to her automatically. And of course, that's not really true. So what kind of smart outreach, relationship building, door opening are you doing on a daily and weekly basis that stimulates these conversations to happen?
What I've been spending the most time on in the last year to that end is building my YouTube channel, because I can do those things in a one-to-many way, leveraging YouTube. I never thought I would be that person that would want to use YouTube in that way because I was afraid of the camera. I really was. But I got over it and I'm getting used to it. And I hope I'm getting better at it. And so yes, I'm pointing people to the YouTube channel, prospects, existing clients. I'm pointing to particular videos there. And almost always there's a call to action embedded in the video. So I do talk about my programs there. I do talk about how to reach out to me, that sort of thing, inside the YouTube videos.
And do you just produce these videos yourself? Do you have like a video person that does all kinds of special effects and post-production?
Started off doing it all myself. I have to admit, I love graphics. I love video editing, turns out. But I have no business spending my precious moments as business owner in there. So after I learned it all, just enough to be dangerous, then I handed the editing off to somebody else who should be doing this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, this was totally fantastic. This was totally awesome. As we said it would be. How do folks listening get connected and stay connected to more Erika Garms brilliance? Where can we send them?
Of course, you can go to my website, which is www.workingsmarts.com. And if you're interested in hearing a bit about or reading a little bit more about my background, check out the interview with Erika, which is on the About tab. And then the other place I have to direct you to, because I just talked about this, is the YouTube channel. And you will find, other links to materials and resources through watching the videos there. The YouTube channel is Dr. Erika Garms.
Excellent. And we're going to have all of this in the show notes, all the links, all the direct access directly under this episode when you go to thespeakingshow.com. We're going to hook you all up with Erika's website and the interview page and, of course, the YouTube channel of awesomeness. So thank you for being with us. This was so much fun. We have to have you back just to keep up with your adventures. And thank you for sharing your genius with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.